What's going on, workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
And on this week's community feedback, we're talking about 4.1 hype. So let's go ahead and talk about you.
So our first comment comes from Sparta Moonslayer.
Love the name.
For the Stormblood Deep Dungeon, I think it's going to be Jenga Tower in the Ruby Sea.
I hope it's the Jenga Tower in the Ruby Sea, and it's just going to go up and up and up for days. And the winning victory is you're going to stand up on top of the Jenga Tower and jump off. That's what I want. Make it happen, Yoshi P.
I would love to just see more engagement with any type of water. I was really excited by swimming and diving this time around.
Yeah.
And just feel that overall to have more underwater levels, underwater battles, things like that would be a great use of just the new capability.
It's beautiful, like you're talking about water, but then at the end of the day, it ends up being a little bit more boring what they've got right now.
Yeah.
And so whether they go up or down, I really hope, and I cannot wait to find out what this whole Jenga Tower by the in the Ruby Sea is. The Ruby Sea is actually, I think, just such a great and well done zone. I love the various islands, and then I love the being underwater aspect. And you can go. It is a large zone. When you think about Sky down into the
it should
depths,
have more end game in it because traversing it at the level that it's intended for is not fun. So you want to push out of that zone as fast as possible until you get flying unlocked.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's a great zone for 70.
I honestly hope, and this is just me, and this is me talking crazy, but I mean. This is something I wanted for a long time. I want 8-man dungeons. And I think that with how the deep dungeon works, where it's really, we don't care about roles. We don't care about that. We're just going to let you go in and have fun and challenge this content. Why not make it, inclusive, more inclusive, and get more people fed into, and thus you can hopefully do more with it. The outside of going from 100 to 200, there really wasn't a lot of challenge there. Now, I don't think they're going to take the deep dungeon or the Jenga, whatever that next version of it ends up being, and turn it into an 8-man. I just hope that we see more and more interesting and diverse areas. While the Palace of the Dead was the Palace of the Dead, I think visually, can we get some outside stuff? Can we get some underwater stuff? Can we get some more stuff that's just, nuts? That way you're getting the sense that, the visualness of it's changing. And then also more randomness, because otherwise it's just going to be uber repetitive, and thus will be easily equated to burnout.
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sparta.
Yep. Whoop, whoop. All right. So Marcel Bosma writes, most excited about, that would be capping my first job and experiencing group content. I'm already starting to fall in love with the Final Fantasy XIV community. What a change compared to WoW. Thanks for your vids, guys. This way I can keep up with what is awaiting me when I get there. Cheers. Well, Marcel, thanks and welcome to Final Fantasy XIV and welcome to the community. We're so glad to hear you're having an excellent time. Now, sorry that you actually had a poor experience with WoW. Like, I've experienced, good people in WoW. I mean, you came from WoW as well. And so I'm not going to sit here and, bash any other game, because I think that every game has its strengths. And at the end of the day, we're all fans of video games.
Yeah.
Now, we can have preferences on one or another, but I'm going to leave that where that's at. I cannot wait for you to experience the end game. And if you haven't seen obviously our leveling guide, just make sure you don't let yourself get distracted in the mid game. It's easy to do, but if you do, you could end up spending all your time in the mid game and never really get to end game. And end game is going to open up so much content to you that you can easily go and level up additional jobs if you choose to do so, and you'll experience that in the mid game. But having that end game as an option is hugely important. But those are just my thoughts. Chris?
I was really excited to see this comment, because this is what 4.1, 4.0 Stormblood, this whole game is doing so well. There's just a lot of growth, a lot of new people, and they're not coming in here and saying, I wish this game was like where I came from.
Right.
It's just people saying, wow, this community is different than where I came from, good, bad, whatever. I'm just going to engage with it as it is.
Right.
And that's really exciting to just see the game grow organically, and people are excited and pumped about the content. There's been some people who I think have been playing for a long time that are looking to take well-deserved breaks.
Yep.
And so it's nice to see that we're not just going to have this sudden fall off. So we're excited to have you, Marcel. All the new players, definitely let us know if you're having any questions. This community is overwhelmingly helpful.
All right. Okay.
Lothar. Reminds me of my first comment on this channel. You have commented on this channel quite a bit, and we do appreciate it, sir.
Fist bump.
They got to improve the replayability of their game if they are struggling to add new content. They should work more on horizontal expansion of this game than the vertical. They are basically making a really tall and cool-looking tower, but there isn't much to do or see in the tower floors. If the entertainment is just climbing the tower over and over again, people will get tired. What worries me is that they do a lot of horizontal expansion anyway, but I still doesn't seem to be enough. Making huge MMO RPGs never seems to be a fulfilling objective.
And it hits the nail on the head, and it got to be a tough balance. What I hope personally is that we talked about this a little bit when we talk about only getting 1 dungeon in the odd number and 2 in the even. And it's about focusing in on getting more horizontal type content, because we've been doing dungeon roulettes and we've gotten used to it. And in ARR, we got 3 with every patch. In Heaven's Word, we got 2 with every patch. Now we're getting 1.5, like, with every patch. So that's been scaling down. What I want to see is more horizontal and interesting type of content to do, so that it's not just about, okay, I go do my roulettes, I go do my Omega, and then I go do PvP. That it's like, oh, now I've got Omega, roulettes, PvP, deep dungeon, and new type of content here. Personally, my hope has always been for more open world type content. Not that they have to go and make it to where it was in Final Fantasy XI or any of those past games, but taking the existing open world content that we have right now, like Fates, like Leaves, and then extending those into adding in endgame type of both difficulty and reward scenarios. We talk about DPS and DPS queues, right? So in my mind, what if, as a DPS, if you're in queue, you could get endgame currency for running Fates. Therefore, it wouldn't equate to being more efficient by doing that. But if you choose to do so, you could go take advantage of that. And the fact that you're not getting experience would be traded off into endgame currency. And then same thing, I keep saying it, I'm going to hopefully get everybody riled up and get the feedback on the forums of Leaves in themselves. When you look at games like Diablo 3, like with the Rift system, like Leaves in my mind could easily translate into that, where you could spend a huge amount of allowance points and just go and go and just go until you fail. But it happens in the open world. It's already content that exists. It's already stuff that would just need to be tweaked. And then that opens up another path. That, in my mind, the reason I say those is because of, especially about this comment, is that relates to they have all this stuff already in the game, but it's only there for leveling. And so there's no reason for me, unless they come out with the relic weapon and we go fate grind again.
How do you make that not required?
Right.
Because when you go do something like the anima weapon, immediately you give people this horizontal task list. You give them this to-do list that is outside of the norm, where it's, I'm going to go grind Fates, or I'm going to go, and then you have this immediate pushback from all the people who just want to climb the tower. They don't want all of this. So I think it's a really interesting puzzle to solve, and every time they try, it's not always going to be a home run. You see them do things like Golden Saucer, right? Totally different, has its own reward system, has its own currency.
Just got my Fenrir amount today.
And the issue is that, okay, that's fine, but I don't like the minion game.
Right.
It doesn't do anything for me. I thought it would. I thought I'd like it.
I was like, that sounds interesting. Did it 3 times, and I was like, that is not interesting.
That's how I feel about gnocchi. I like potatoes. I like pasta. I have no idea why I don't like potato. I don't know.
Potato pasta, man.
Like
it's the
potato
best.
pasta sounds awesome.
I love gnocchi.
So I think that's the issue here. It's a great question. It's one of the times that part of me wants to sit in on that design team, and part of me is glad that I don't have that responsibility on my shoulders.
Yeah, it's got to be a huge responsibility. It's got to be one that's always, you don't
want to overwhelm them. You don't want to require it,
and
but you don't want to make it so optional they don't do it.
There's been a patch or two where people were like, "There's so much to do," and they were like, "I can't do it all. Like I can't do it," because there is a desire to go in.
If I log in and you have already done all the dailies and have some new mount from this, and Jelly already has all the new gear, and Adam and Todd are already capped on PvP, and Julie already unlocked something from crafting, and I only took like a week off of the game, I'm like, well, I can't catch any of them.
I'm tired.
So I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know. more horizontal is definitely an easy ask. It's definitely what I want. I just don't know how you get it.
You know, and then like for me again, like I said, that there's content that already exists that could easily be updated to be able to have it as an option. And then the same kind of thing goes is that I will keep banging the drum that I'd love to see more 8-man dungeons make their way back without cutscenes.
Do you think they need to keep adding dungeons at the same rate?
No,
you talk about it slowing down, but because of level sync, the total library is getting so large that I'm regularly getting into dungeons I don't remember.
Right. When the dungeon, and that's what I'm saying, like, okay, 4-man's, you know, literally like, okay, here's a 4-man, and now here's like, they could introduce it to where in and of itself it's its own thing. I'm hoping the 24-man roulette kind of helps offset that, because then you kind of get that with you know, the 24-man, because you are an 8-man group. There is a lot of interesting stuff going on, and maybe that's more the answer. Maybe it's more getting actually involved in the 24-mans that I desire. That's what I'm craving, because they are dungeon-esque, because you've got multiple bosses and things like that. So maybe the roulette's actually going to help alleviate the request for me, because then there you go. It's literally right there. But I cannot wait for Return to Ivalice, and so I think at this point, like, you know, I've seen the dungeon, the new ones enough, and it's kind of, that's why I'm actually enjoying the 50s and 60 roulette way more, because it's such. I haven't done this dungeon in, you know, a year. This is great, because I haven't seen it. It's been a while, and then I'm like, how do I do it? Then it, you know,
right.
then memory comes back.
I get hit by the first one of everything,
and then you're like, oh, I remember how to do this now. Anyway, Lothar, thanks so much, obviously, for being here and being such a great supporter of the channel, and thanks for your comment. I get all the hard names. Well, all these names are hard for me. So Annie Shikami, some good stuff to look forward to. I really wish they would update Palace of the Dead so you could enter it at 100 and go up, and have a pug group if you like. I was surprised they had not done that and added floors 200 to 300 for the new hardcore set. Any chance of getting a guide for Red Mage, or am I blind and not seeing one that you've already done? I like a little of what I've played of the job, but I feel like I'm playing it all wrong. And so, how's
couple parts there?
Yeah, let's break it down.
So, the Palace of the Dead. I would love to see this move to a Diablo 3 grift system.
Yeah.
Where you start at different floors. Even if they want to require that it's an increment of 10 or something like that, and then you just push until you can't do anymore, and then the reward you get for turning in that token or whatever, for how far you got, is based on how far you got. And then you could start to tie in leaderboards for solo, best of your class, best overall solo, best 2s, best 3s, best 4s, best 8s. That would be awesome, and I think that it could create new gear sets and things like that.
There's a lot they could do with it. Absolutely. They brought in like the horde, or the like for that randomness.
That's your horizontal expansion.
Yeah, exactly.
Palace
And
of the Dead.
The fact that also that it's easy to get into, so newer players can just jump right into it and be on even playing fields. I'd like to see that too. I'd like to see them expand on the Palace of the Dead, what it offers and how it does the rewards. Because right now, to get into 100 to 200, you have to go through the first 100 as a group, and you can't die. And so those are the requirements. You do that, you go in there. They have a leaderboard-esque system, but I never really feel like I'm getting put into it or getting connected, or even that feedback. So that's just me. I'd
love to see more leaderboards in general.
Leaderboards across everything. Make a leaderboard for every dungeon.
Everything.
Unsynced version and synced version. And then hard modes for every dungeon.
Give rewards to the top 5% every patch cycle, and then just wipe the board.
Heck, you could even make a cadence of a weekly and a monthly kind of various thing. You even talked about this, and this is totally off topic, but why not have just like some kind of weekly who caught the biggest fish by just throwing it in? You just, all right, I'm going to throw in and see if I end up on the list, and it gets tallied up every week.
Yep.
The system already has a weekly kind of thing. Why
you
not?
do the biggest of a certain species, and at the end of that week, you get that species as a mount. And so now you're flying around on a bunch
giant
of fish. Different fish every week.
Why not?
Like, I won one, but it's the lamest fish.
Come on, guys. With 10 million subscriber-ish, whatever numbers. Like, I think they've got the money. Come on, we want more fish mounts.
I want more mounts in general. I'm going to keep saying that. No, you guys are going to be asking questions like, so what do you think about
more
the
mounts.
gear? And I'm like, more mounts is really the issue with this game.
If you see it and can kill it, you should ride it.
Yes, every time. The other question here is for our resident class guide guy here.
All right, so
Red Mage.
Red Mage.
Honestly, just more the guide cadence in general, because we see a lot of comments in the channel.
Hey, when's this guy
coming out? When can you update this old video, because this game is cyclical, and so our guides do eventually drop out of accuracy.
So right now, if you guys aren't aware of the cadence, every 2 weeks we're putting out a new job guide. And so this last week we did part 1 and 2 of the Paladin. So we did how to Paladin and we did the controller guide. So this coming weekend, so if you're watching this, obviously current content, it's going to be part 3 and part 4 of Paladin. And then the following week we'll get into Warrior. And so we'll do Warrior, and that's 2 guides, Saturdays and Sundays, for 2 weeks, and kind of breaking down the various topics of the job, how it relates in PvE and PvP, and how it relates on the controller, and then my overall thoughts on it. Now, the reason why we've done Dark Knight and then we've done Paladin, and next we're doing Warrior, is to have all 3 tanks done, and then that way I can put together redo the beginning 101 tanking guide. And then we can also get into more complex topics, tank by tank, and just my thoughts on the tanks in the job in the game overall. Then we're switching into Astrologian and then White Mage, getting our healers done. That will give me all 3 healers, and so then I'll have the tanks and the healers. Now, I love casting. I've got my Summoner. It needs some work, and hopefully we'll see that in 4.1. Another video on that later. But the idea is that I'm going to be doing Summoner. I've already done Summoner. I'm working on Black Mage and Red Mage. Now, anytime we kind of PvP and I'm on a DPS, I'm on a caster. Then from there, Dragoon, and then the rest of the melee and range DPSs. Julie's got hers to 70, and I'm debating on doing something for Bard, but since I haven't spent that much time with it, I don't think it's fair to you guys to go and sit here and say, here are my recommendations for Bard, having not spent a lot of time on the job. And so I still feel like I should level it up myself and kind of get more familiar with the job in and of itself. So that's the guide cadence. I know if you're looking for Red Mage, I am looking forward to it too. It's one of my jobs that I'm really itching to play, but I also feel like with the channel, I want to make sure I'm putting out the content for all jobs. And so
he needs to get all his classes to 70.
Yeah.
Now Brian has almost everything to 60, so it is just that brief sprint there, but this is work to game. We have other priorities outside of the game, and just sheer leveling by itself is not the top priority. So
right.
2 weeks per class not only gives you the chance to dive into each class, but it also gives you time to start leveling up the next class.
Correct. So I wish there was a faster way that I could get this content out to you guys, and without sitting here and saying, hey, I need y'all to donate or support us on Patreon. We have a Patreon. If you guys want to do that, it's awesome. But at the end of the day, unless we were making enough money to do this full time, there's no way I can get
Game to work.
Game to work, baby. The dream is real.
You can find us on our new channel. That's funny.
But so I will be working on it and getting it out as quickly as possible. My goal and the goal that we set out, behind the scenes, is to have all my jobs at 70 before the end of the year. And that way we'll have our guides out and things like that. All the guides will be out.
And we have a huge list of topics that we want to talk about together, topics that we don't care which one of us does, topics that Brian's going to do, topics that I'm going to do. But feel free to keep tossing out more. We love kind of hearing, if we just keep hearing like Red Mage, well, then Red Mage might come ahead of Black Mage. I mean,
that's honestly how it all works.
We're doing all of this for you guys. So just let us know. But that is the typical answer, is when we have time. We're trying to get to all of it.
Be sure to hit us up on Twitter and following us at Work to Game, namely because we do I do put out polls on hey, I'm thinking about what's my next DPS, and I did that actually in Heavensward, and everybody overwhelmingly voted Dragoon, so I got Dragoon to 70, I got Dragoon to 60 first, as opposed to another melee job. And so be sure to follow us there. Be sure to let us know in the comments and tweet at us, so that way we know what is more important. When it looks at Machinist and Bard, right now more people say, hey, they want Machinist. So it's okay, well, if I was going to look between Bard and Machinist, most likely I would do Machinist first. But anyway, love to know what your thoughts are on that one.
So that is it for this video. Thank you, Ani. Thank you, all of you that had been. There was a lot here. There was a lot to be excited about with 4.1. There's a lot to be excited about with just the future of Final Fantasy in general. It just keeps getting better and better. I've been really impressed with their ability to keep this momentum up. I don't know what ever happens if Yoshi P ever retires, but thankfully he's still pretty young and pretty healthy.
I want to see him. I want to see him get his own. I want him to be the director of 16 or even 17 or something like that. He's producer and director. So let somebody come in and step into his director role. Let him remain producer. Anyway, just my thoughts.
So we'd love to hear what else you guys think. We'd love to hear what other topics you'd like us to cover. What else are you guys excited about in 4.1? What do you just want to see more of in Final Fantasy in general? What are you excited to get away from? There's a lot of change that's happened, and that also means that there's things that are no longer the way they were, especially when you talk about people that played from 1.0. A lot has changed. So this has been Chris.
And Brian.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Hey, it's me. Thanks so much for watching this video. You should click over here to see more videos just like it, or you should click down here to check out our recent vlog. But you can also click somewhere down here below to hit the subscribe button, as well as check out our other info. Again, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.